The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the holographic display flickered to life. Ambassador Thorax of the Kryn Collective shifted his chitinous plates, mandibles clicking in barely concealed disgust. The image showed something that shouldn't exist. A human female alone in a wilderness preserve, surrounded by creatures that had decimated 3 armed Kryn survey teams. Impossible, Thorax hissed. The Shadow Maws of Viridian 7 are apex predators. Category 5 Death World fauna. No sentient species can coexist with them. The human representative, a weathered woman named Captain Reeves, smiled faintly. Perhaps you'd like to see more? Ilara crouched in the violet grass, her boots sinking slightly into the moss-covered ground. The twin suns of Viridian 7 cast long shadows through the crystalline trees, and somewhere in the distance something massive bellowed. She didn't flinch. She'd been on this world for 3 standard months, and she'd learned its rhythms, its dangers, its secrets. The scratching at her boot was familiar now. Tiny claws, still developing their retractable sheaths, seeking purchase on the reinforced leather. Ilara glanced down at Nyx, the smallest of the litter she'd been monitoring. The cub's obsidian fur rippled with bioluminescent patterns, a display that among adult Shadow Maws signaled imminent attack. On Nyx, it just meant excitement. Easy there, little terror, Ilara murmured. She made a single gesture, palm down, 2 fingers extended, a slight rotation of her wrist. It was nothing elaborate, nothing that required technology or weapons. Just a movement precise and intentional. Nyx's entire demeanor shifted. The aggressive scratching ceased. The cub's 6 eyes, arranged in 2 rows of 3, blinked in sequence, and then the impossible happened. The predator cub, whose adult form would stand 3 meters tall and could bite through starship hull plating, curled around Ilara's ankle and began to purr. The sound was deeper than any Earth cat, a resonance that Ilara felt in her chest cavity. She reached down carefully, scratching behind the cub's auditory ridges, right where the armor plates hadn't fully hardened yet. Good, Nyx, she said softly. Good girl. In the council chamber, several representatives recoiled from their viewing stations. This is some kind of trick, insisted Councillor Vex of the Harmonious Accord, her crystalline form refracting light in agitated patterns. Pheromone manipulation? Technological pacification fields? Captain Reeves shook her head. No technology beyond standard observation equipment. No chemical agents. No genetic manipulation of the creatures. She paused for effect. Just understanding. Understanding? Thorax's translator struggled with the contemptuous tone. We sent our best xenobiologists. They lasted 4 hours before the Shadow Maws breached their fortified observation post. Understanding means nothing against instinct. Human instinct, Reeves said quietly, is more adaptable than you might think. Ilara stood slowly, Nyx maintaining contact with her leg, matching her movements with fluid grace. The cub's mother watched from 30 meters away, her massive form partially concealed behind a stand of crystalline formations. By all rights, the adult Shadow Maw should be attacking, defending her offspring from the alien presence. Instead, she simply observed. Ilara had learned something the Council's xenobiologists hadn't, or perhaps couldn't. The Shadow Maws weren't mindless killing machines. They were intelligent, social, and capable of nuanced communication. The previous research teams had approached them as specimens to be studied, threats to be contained, resources to be catalogued. Ilara had approached them as equals. It started with observation, weeks of it, patient and unobtrusive. She noted how the pack communicated through bioluminescent patterns and subsonic vocalizations. She mapped their territorial boundaries and respected them. She watched how the adults taught their cubs, the gestures they used, the discipline they enforced. And then, carefully, she had begun to mirror those gestures, not to control, not to dominate, to communicate. The first breakthrough came with Nyx, the runt of the litter, naturally curious and less intimidated by the strange, 2-legged creature who sat so still at the edge of their territory. The cub had approached, testing, probing, young enough to be brave but old enough to be cautious. Ilara had remained motionless for 3 hours while Nyx investigated her boots, her pack, her scent. And when the cub's mother finally made a gesture, a specific angle of her clawed forelimb, a particular flash of bioluminescence, Ilara had understood. Keep your distance. Young one Ilara had made her own gesture then, not copied but adapted. Not a Shadow Maw gesture but something new, Something that bridged two species, I mean no harm. I wish only to learn. Perhaps the message hadn't been exactly that. Perhaps it was simpler, more fundamental. Perhaps it was just the recognition that here was another being capable of communication, of intention, of choice. The cub's mother had sat down, and Nix had continued exploring. The human has been there for 93 standard days, Captain Reeves told the council. She has documented 17 previously unknown behaviors, mapped the entire pack's social structure, and established communication protocols that we believe can be replicated. One human, Thorax said, his tone skeptical but less hostile now. In 3 months, accomplishing what our teams couldn't in years. One human, Reeves agreed, who didn't try to conquer the environment, who didn't assume superiority, who watched, learned, and adapted. On the screen, Alara was walking now, Nix trotting at her heels like a loyal companion. The adult shadow moths moved parallel to her path, neither threatening nor welcoming but accepting her presence in their territory. One of the other cubs bounded over, younger than Nix, barely coordinated. It approached Alara with clumsy enthusiasm. She made another gesture, different from the first, a slight variation that the council's translators were already analyzing. The new cub paused, then mimicked Nix's behavior, settling near Alara's other boot. Two apex predators purring at the feet of a single unarmed human. How? Vex asked, the question carrying genuine curiosity now. Captain Reeves smiled. Because humans evolved as persistence hunters on a death world called Earth. We learned that sometimes strength isn't about domination. Sometimes it's about adaptation. Sometimes it's about having the patience to understand that the monster in the dark might just be scared, territorial, or misunderstood. She gestured to the screen, where Alara was now sitting cross-legged, both cubs pressed against her, while the pack's matriarch approached slowly. Sometimes, Reeves continued, humanity's greatest strength is recognizing that we're not so different from the creatures we fear. We all protect our young. We all communicate. We all want to be understood. Nix looked up at Alara with all 6 eyes, bioluminescent patterns creating a mesmerizing dance across obsidian fur. The cub scratched once more at her boot, gentler now, affectionate rather than testing. Alara scratched behind those ridges again, and Nix's purr deepened. In the council chamber, the representatives sat in silence, watching a human do the impossible simply by choosing to try.